Good evening. You are tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Cynthia Ng. New Sarawak cabinet unveiled. Abang Jo relies on the tried and tested. And Tengku Zafrul explains why the government have no intention to allow those affected by floods to make EPF withdrawal. That's coming up. Chief Minister Tan Sri Abang Jo Tun Openg today announced Sarawak's new administration lineup comprising of 10 ministers and 26 assistant ministers, 8 more than the previous one formed in 2019. One of the highlights, Sarawak United People's Party SUPP President and Batu Kawah Assemblyman Datuk Sri Dr. Sim Kui Hian has been appointed as one of the 3 deputy chief ministers. Bukit Saban Assemblyman Dato' Amar Douglas Ugah Embas and Bukit Sari Assemblyman Dato' Amar Awang Tengah Ali Hassan were reappointed as Deputy Chief Ministers. Abang Jo himself will hold 3 portfolios, namely Minister for Finance and New Economy, Minister for Natural Resources and Urban Development, and Minister for Energy and Environmental Sustainability. He added that the performance of the cabinet members will be evaluated by the first quarter of 2022. The cabinet announcement follows Gabungan Parti Sarawak's victory in the December 18th election, grabbing 76 out of the total 82 seats. Based on the lineup, it appears that Abang Jo is relying on the tried and tested faces as it strives to become a developed state by 2030. Here to give her comments on the new cabinet lineup is UiTM Sarawak Senior Lecturer Dr. Nur Aida Kipli.
The first one is the formations of the cabinet itself. We can see that the chief minister assists by the 3 deputy chief ministers, which they are capable, experienced, and well-versed about the political and socio-economic of Sarawak. The second thing, it is a mixture of young and experienced leaders will be able to further strengthen the leaderships under Abang Jo. We call it so-called Team Abang Jo for more developed and a progressive Sarawak. The second one, the new creations of the public health portfolio. I can see it is a proactive step taken and also proves the concern by the new Sarawak leadership teams in protecting the people of Sarawak from this pandemic. And we, as a Sarawakian, believe that this new portfolio will be able to help intensify the government's effort in tackling this problem.
Despite a largely unchanged lineup, Dr. Noaida believes that the new government will bring about positive changes in its path of becoming a high-income state by 2030.
The Sarawak Chief Minister has strategized his plan by ensuring that each of his ministers will carry out and as well as to perform their responsibilities as mentioned in the GPS manifesto. So the action as a group, I call teamwork, will be the benchmark for economic stability and growth for Sarawak in the next 5 years. So the main focus here is to make sure that the people of Sarawak will enjoy the progress and develop without regretting the election results in the state election. So it is a way forward for Sarawak to be an advanced nation.
The organizer of the Lawan rally has filed a lawsuit against the government and the police over the arrests of participants in last August's COVID-19 candlelight vigil. Secretariat Solidarity Rakyat SSR said 16 participants were seeking a court declaration that their rights under the federal constitution were violated.
The 16 youth are taking the relevant parties to court for wrongful arrest, unjustified attack during the vigil, violation of statutory responsibilities, and misconduct of public office. On August 19, 31 participants of the vigil were arrested at Dataran Merdeka. They were investigated for assembly without notice and breaching COVID-19 restrictions. Each of them were slapped with a 2,000 ringgit fine.
A proposal paper on flood response and disaster management improvements will be tabled at the first cabinet meeting on January 12th. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Special Duties, Datuk Dr. Abdul Latif Ahmad, said this following a discussion with experts today.
He said experts in the field of risk management and new hazards shared their views on the flood management. Lecturers also presented their studies on bad weather situations that may cause unpredictable weather disasters. On December 26, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob announced that the government would set up a special task force for post-flood activities in preparation for the second wave of floods.
The government has no intention at the moment to allow those affected by the floods to make EPF withdrawals, despite calls from certain quarters to allow such measures. Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Tengku Aziz explains why.
Banyak implikasinya. Itulah sebabnya kesatuan pekerja seperti MTUC, QPAC semua banyak lagi lah meluahkan atau menyuarakan bantahan terhadap pengeluaran tambahan KWSP. Jadi rata-rata mereka tidak bersetuju kerana mereka faham impak buruknya kepada kebajikan hari itu bercarun dan juga kepada ekonomi. Dan jika pengeluaran berterusan ini dibenarkan, kalau banjir itu tiap-tiap tahun dah. Ini menyentuh hal pulangan dividen contohnya dan juga serta pasaran moden dan kewangan negara. Jadi kalau kita lihat sebagai ringkasnya, kalau kita benarkan pengeluaran tambahan lagi, KWSP akan terpaksa menjual pemegang saham dan bond mereka di luar dan dalam negara secara besar-besaran.
We will go for a quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back. COVID infections in the city of Xi'an keep spreading 8 days into lockdown. It reported another 155 local COVID cases, taking the total number of cases to the highest seen in any Chinese city this year.
Xi'an has embarked on multiple rounds of mass testing to trace transmissions in the city of 13 million. A sixth round kicked off on Thursday. Despite the low case count in Xi'an compared with many clusters overseas, officials have imposed tough restrictions on travel within and out of the city since December 23rd, as Beijing demands each outbreak be contained quickly. The lockdown in the city has put further pressure on global supply chains. Samsung Electronics and Micron Technology, two of the world's largest memory chip makers, warned that strict curbs in the Chinese city could disrupt their chip manufacturing bases in the area.
Australia narrowed its definition of close contacts of COVID cases and relaxed requirements for COVID-19 tests in a bid to relieve pressure on testing sites. This as daily cases breached 20,000 for the first time in the pandemic.
This should significantly, we hope, over the next few weeks, greatly reduce the volume of people who are having these PCR tests. It will also free up, we hope, a lot more workforce that is currently being focused on these tests to be able to be supporting the other priorities for managing the pandemic, in particular the boosting clinics and centres for administering the vaccines.
He said a close contact will now be classified as someone who spent 4 hours or more with a confirmed case in a household.
Anti-junta fighters said they have found and buried the bodies of over 30 civilians massacred by the military junta last week. The United Nations Security Council, meanwhile, has condemned the attack, while the US and EU are pressing for arms embargo on the military government. The killings took place on Christmas Eve in the eastern Kayah state, where pro-democracy rebels have been fighting the military junta. Among those killed were 4 children, women, and 2 workers for non-profit group Save the Children. Their vehicle was among several that were attacked and burned. The UN Security Council has described the attack as barbaric and called for accountability and an immediate end to violence in the country. In Brazil, thousands of people were displaced after weeks of heavy rains that caused severe flooding in the northeastern state of Bahia. At least 24 people have been killed in what is turning into the worst disaster in the state's history. Heavy rains have been pounding the region since the end of November. 136 cities have been put under a state of emergency due to the floods, which has affected nearly 630,000 people. Floodwaters reportedly reached 10 meters high in some areas. Authorities say it has been the heaviest December rainfall in Bahia in 32 years. In some towns, a month's worth of rain fell in a matter of hours. And that is all we have for you on AWANI Tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro AWANI app. I'm Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching.